everyone. I'm just testing my sound to ensure that you can hear me. Just check before we begin. Okay, so let's just make sure I can be heard. There we go. Good morning, everyone. It's middle of the day here in the UK. Welcome to these daily sessions. There'll be most days, Monday to Friday. There won't be one next Monday because of a prior commitment. Um, but essentially, someone's telling me the sound isn't good, so let me have a look. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Just setting up. This is the first time we're setting up. So again, welcome everyone. Some of you are already members of our organization, and that's wonderful. Please do share this information. This is aimed obviously at everyone through COVID to basically help manage this difficult period. So our main subject today is essentially about depression. So this subject comes up a lot during COVID. Many people are saying, you know, I'm struggling now. COVID has forced me into depression. I had two main questions come in about this. One was, my repression is intermittent, and how do I stop that? Now let's just have a look at depression. Let's have an overview of what depression is. Now, often if things don't go well in your life, if the actual reality and your expectation are different, there is immediately a discord here. This discord, if not understood fully, will always leave you with an empty feeling because there's like a void between the reality and the actuality. So what we want to do is to be able to be more objective and to be connected, so the events that happen in our life, we have a greater understanding of. When I often talk to people about depression, they say like, well, my life is not how I want it to be, you know, this happened. It's often other events trigger this downward spiral of our morale, of our confidence. So how do we maintain that level of confidence? How can we keep up there? How can we not let COVID and all that's going on around us not affect us? And it's a lot easier than you think, essentially. What we want to do is to be able to rise above those issues around us and deal with them effectively, not allow them to disturb our inner peace. So the first thing I always say is that let's look at what triggers that depression. What conflict has thrown you into a depressed mode? Now, it's quite normal. We all have difficult days. We all have painful days, and that's fine. We should be able to bounce back quite effectively and quickly. Most people have found this much harder to do through lockdown because we don't have the usual outlets, we don't have the usual entertainment, we don't have the usual contact with other people, perhaps, that we can cry on their shoulder a little. So this has forced us more to look at ourselves, to look in the mirror and see deeper into our own personality. And often we find these conflicts. Now, if we go back to the adage that everything happens for a reason, and that God is not trying to punish us, rather educate us, then this change is our whole perspective. yes, the event that's going on in your life may be unpleasant, but it's there for a purpose. Partly we may have attracted this to us. It may be the consequence of past actions that we've performed. Regardless, we're here and now and we have to deal with it. So instead of lingering just in wishful thinking, I wish this would go away, I wish that this didn't happen, I wish that everything was okay, we have to start by accepting that we've reached this point. Once we accept that we have reached this point, then the forward path is going to be much, much easier. We're going to be able not to struggle and not to have that conflict. Now, if we can be honest with ourselves and say that, we encourage this situation, we put ourselves in this predicament, that also helps because that by itself is a form of self-acceptance. We're accepting that we perhaps are to blame or that we have created the situation ourselves. So the more we stop those conflicts about what is happening and what we would like to happen, then we find a greater harmony and we do not feel so depressed. This keeps our morale, our confidence, and our levels of happiness and contentment at a much, much higher level. There was a questioner has asked that depression for some people can be very intermittent. They go along and everything is fine. Then some event happens, something changes within them, and they then struggle during that period. So this means that we still have these boulders in our path. We still have these difficulties. And we keep hitting these boulders, but somehow we don't have the strength to either move them out of our path or to climb over them and move on. And that happens to so many, many people. So how do we find that strength within? Well, as you know, that I lead an international meditation school, and meditation is the most perfect way, essentially, of finding strength within, not only becoming stronger in yourself, but having greater objectivity. And when you can stand aside from all these issues and problems, all these challenges that COVID has brought us, if we can stand aside and look in neutrality, then everything becomes so much clearer. We then know our own motivation, our own purpose, our own commitments from a far, far deeper level. This makes life a lot more rewarding and we have clarity of mind. One of the greatest disadvantages of continually being depressed is that your mind is always racing. It's because the natural process of the mind is to try and find resolution. That is why we think, why those thoughts are always pervading and going around, sometimes in greater numbers or in greater activity. We call it sort of mind chatter, the mind chattering. The mind generally chatters more when we're under some form of pressure or stress. And normally, again, that's a conflict between exterior circumstances and interior thoughts and feelings. So what we want to do is to be able to find that strength. So that's very important. And through regular meditation, it's very, very easy to do that. Extremely, extremely easy. In just a few days or even in the early few weeks, you will feel stronger. You will have greater clarity into your life. Then perhaps you will begin seeing that all that is happening around you that you viewed negatively before are in fact um, structures, new structures coming into our life, on which we can climb. So these changes are continual for everyone in life. Life, there is, in this relative field of existence in which we live, there is only one guarantee, and that is of change. So how do we embrace that change? If we're stronger within ourselves, then those exterior changes do not imbalance us. If we're feeling weak and vulnerable, then of course these interior changes will very much make us feel insecure. Feeling that insecurity is the downward path that brings us into a depressed state. So, in essence, behind all of this is fear. Fear is the precursor to all forms of stress. When we can't control that stress, when we can't control that conflict or move above that conflict, then essentially, our whole status, our whole way that we think about ourselves and act becomes heavier and heavier, and we have that very bad stress feeling. So, again, it's rising above it. It's understanding how our life works, why those conflicts are there. Because, as I said, they are essentially only conflicts through what we believe should be happening and the reality of what is happening now. So, if we can marry these two, within that is the adversity in the opportunity that will, in fact, make us stronger. It will lead us to a new path. That path must be more harmonious and must be happier. So, for the intermittent um, depressive state, look at your circumstances. What are the triggers that actually brings you to this point? And then try and work on these triggers. Now, during the time of COVID, obviously, there was very little stability around us. It's an ever changing environment. I call it the COVID carousel because it's continually moving. Rules are changing around us. The threat of the virus is forever there. It could come close to us, be far from us, etc. But we will, we have to cope. We have to cope with this changing environment because really this reflects how life is. Life is change. In the relative field of existence, everything is always completely changing. So we want to be able to flow with those changes and not be against them. And that's very important. So for intermittent depression, look at the triggers. It's a good sign. It means it's very easily overcome because it's not dominating you 24/7. It just pops up now and again. And of course, it depends how long it stays with you. The important thing is, yep, we can have a bad day, we can feel down, but the next day we bounce back. And it is that bouncing back that is so important. And when you are strong and standing on a firm foundation within yourself, this is far easier. Someone asked also, can depression be overcome? Yes, it can. I mean, through leading this organization, as I said, which teaches meditation for many, 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 many years, I have seen amazing transformations, and some of them extremely quickly, within days. Um, so yes, even if you've been depressive, in a depressive state for a number of years, you're on certain medications, through meditation, through unfolding yourself, by us giving you individualized meditation practices, um, you can overcome this depression. It's actually a lot easier to do than you think, because once you make connection with that inner self, there is like a divine universal reservoir within yourself. Once you make that connection, you naturally feel stronger, because all those energies are now at your disposal. Before, the clouds of the mind chatter, the overactivity of the mind simply buried this. When that calmness is felt, then that strength, that spiritual force, that universal force will rise in you. It will give you the strength, and you will begin to do amazing things in your life, if not only to resolve the current conflicts that you have. Now, we always say meditation and medication go hand in hand. So, therefore, we do not recommend that you immediately stop depression medication. Many people who learn to meditate, we tell them carry on with your medication, but the fact is you will become less and less reliant on that medication over time, to the point eventually you'll put them aside and you won't need them anymore. Your doctor will be ringing you saying, you haven't come for your prescription, etc., because you no longer need them. We have seen this with people with migraines. We've seen this with people taking tranquilizers for panic attacks. So it's very easily overcome. It's like anything in life, if you have the right tools and the right guidance. So these sessions that we're doing every day at 12 o'clock are basically to support people through this difficult COVID lockdown that we have not only in the UK but throughout the world at the moment. And many countries are locking down again because the virus is obviously a killer virus. It's a serious threat, if not to us directly, but to those around us. The big problem is you can be symptomatic. In other words, you can have the virus and pass it on without even knowing. So in many respects, this makes us want to be more responsible, that we could inadvertently infect someone, which may lead to their death. So this is another pressure that is around us at this time, this level of self-responsibility for others, for your family, and for your friends, and of course for yourself. We never know how COVID is going to affect us. It affects people in many, many different ways, depending on so many factors, not even those if you already have a history of medical problems. So, going back to our subject, um, it can be overcome. People, because they're locked down, because they have not been able to have social support through this period of time, I do know that that has been very difficult for people, and it has made them reflect a lot more, perhaps think a lot more about their problems. And because we don't have that, going out maybe in nature and all these type of things, um, we're sort of self-reflected much more of the time. But let's use that self-reflection in a positive way. Firstly, by accepting the predicaments, the problems, and the challenges that we currently have. If we can accept them and just say, this is here for a purpose. Maybe I do not understand the purpose as it is at this very moment, but it will become clear because it is in my path. If something comes into your path, it is for a purpose. There are never, ever any accidents in life. Everything is working within that law of attraction, which we prefer to call the law of cause and effect. Well, it's the same thing essentially. It's just there's really a lot of misnomers about the law of attraction, which in most things relates to financial wealth, attracting things to you, etc., for personal gain. So we're not talking about that here. What we want you to do is to find that peace and strength within yourself. We want you to have clarity of mind so that you can instantly resolve, you can instantly um, redirect your thought in your mind. You can rebuff those negative thoughts in your mind so they do not dominate your thinking. And obviously, as you become a lot stronger within yourself, those negative thoughts within the mind just drain away. Meditation creates them to become neutralized. It may turn some of them into positive thinking, but the eventual requirement is that we even go beyond that. That's talking quite philosophical. It's philosophically, but that is our path and purpose. We need to move beyond the negative and the positive and go more into a neutral stance. And this is possible at the higher levels of meditation. But hey, once we're on the path, once we're on this road to reaching there, there is so much joy and bliss that we can experience. So when we feel better about ourselves, when we feel more in tune with ourselves and the environment around us, this will bring us peace and contentment. That will then, in turn, equate to greater happiness. Of all our meditators around the world, there are two common factors that unite them. The first one is that their heart is open. These people are so warm and so loving, but in a strong manner. And obviously, they have sorted out their lives. They're standing on a firm foundation. They have open hearts, but they have that stability. Now, obviously, when we suffer from depression, this shows there are certain regions of us that lack stability. As we said at the beginning, fear is an awful thing. This is the first thing that creates stress. It is the precursor to stress is always fear. So when we become stronger within ourselves, we will be fearless. And that's where we want to achieve, and it's possible to do very easily and effectively through meditation. So, for the last few minutes, I really want to talk about meditation. FISO is having a new academy where you can, through COVID right now, learn to meditate online. The course is based over 10 sessions. It takes roughly 3 months um, to complete. And we can guarantee you that if you suffer from depression, that through this period of time, you will have the love, support, and guidance to go through this journey and to alleviate that depression. 99% of students who take our courses will admit that their depression has either gone and does no longer bother them, or has been minimized to such an effect that it is completely manageable. And this is what we would expect. This is what we would expect from this experience. I'm just checking I don't have any questions. Okay. So we're asking people that do not know us or our organization or our teachings to basically submit your questions. There's going to be a daily session at around noon for about 30 minutes. And we're going to be talking on different subjects. So today it was dealing with depression. We do understand that this is a very unpleasant experience when you are depressed. Um, you see the world in different light to most people around you. You know, there's that heaviness, there's that darkness, and this can easily be overcome because that journey within ourselves ignites an inner light which shines forward, not only to flood your own mind and system, but will also expand to those around you. And people will be saying to you, oh, before you were always quiet, you look sad. Now you're always smiling, you're always happy. What happened to you? And our meditators do get these comments so often, especially people around them closely who know who know them, perhaps know their past. So, on a last note about depression, you may read many things, and some of them are very helpful. Get more sleep, eat the right food, take exercise, go outside. But there's nothing more powerful than going within yourself to unravel the mystery of life. Once you ignite that spiritual force that is within, it will give you that objectivity. You will see your problems with great clarity. You will have the strength to resolve them, even if they seem unsurmountable at this moment in time. You will find that strength. You will surprise yourself how strong you are going to become and the wonderful changes that you will make in your life simply because you have accepted that these changes are there for your good, for your growth, and for your God. So we will finish on that note today. If there are any questions, as I said, please um, put them there. This recording is saved on the various channels. So if you want to go back and look at it again, please be my guest. So I will wait just for one moment to see if there's any questions from our audience that's connected at the moment. Okay, which is good. I see that there's quite a few people connected through Facebook, obviously through YouTube, through Twitter as well, which is wonderful. So please do share. You will see if you are, if you're a friend to my or any of the pages, you will see the links to these sessions. Please do share them with your friends and colleagues, especially if the subject is very relative to them at this moment in time. And it's been great talking with you, and I will see you tomorrow at noon. Thank you very much. Namaste.